Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Erev Tov, Jeffrey. How are you? Hello, Dr. Les. How are you?
Shalom, Rav. How are you?
Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. How are you all? Let's see who's with us. Jeffrey with us. Dr. Les with us. Oh, Elna, long time. We missed you, Elna. Thank you for joining us. Stephen with us. Who's with us? George. George, a long time we didn't see you also. Bruchim Habayim. Welcome. Elna and George. Who else with us? There's few more coming. Let's just see who's join us. Ivor and Anthony. Hello, Ivor. Hello, Anthony. Dr. Les, give us the update news.
Sure. Today's been incredible, as I'm sure being in South Africa, you'll know more than me. But it's the news all the time. And it's actually quite unbelievable how people know that I'm South African. And they say, why does South Africa hate Israel so much? People can't understand it here. They really can't. But, besides from what's happening in The Hague tomorrow, the Israeli government's going to give their response. But what South Africa has done in defaming Israel, it's so hypocritical. It will go down in our history as one of the darkest days that another country has leveled against the Jewish people in Israel. And only yesterday did they find tunnels in Khan Yunis, labyrinth of these tunnels where they actually hid the hostages. And, the world is very silent on what's happening to these hostages, to babies, to, all these, it's unbelievable. You see the hypocrisy right in front of you. And I just want to tell you that it goes much further. The head of the Olympic Committee, like ambassador for Paris, they're going to have the Olympics this year, Emil Gomez, she on her Instagram posted pro-Hamas, and now she's had to resign. So there's a lot of things happening. We're seeing a spike in anti-Semitism throughout the world. In New York at 770, they found they had dug a tunnel inside the building, and they wanted to close it with cement. And the New York police came, NYPD, and the amount of anti-Semitism that is going viral, saying that it's for all the most weirdest anti-Semitic things. Who knows what that tunnel was for? They shouldn't have done it, but the response has been just unbelievable. On a more positive side, the students at Harvard are actually suing the university for breeding this anti-Jewish feeling that they feel very unsafe, and they are actually suing Harvard University, which has never really happened before. And Rav, I want to end off with something very positive. Tonight, I went to see a very close and dear patient and friend of mine, Walter Bingham. Walter Bingham just turned 100, Canaan Horror. And he's won in the Guinness Book of Records as the oldest journalist. He's still active in journalism. He speaks on Arut Sheva. He writes in the Jerusalem Report and in the Jerusalem Post. And Walter, he's a patient of my brother's and mine, and I have a very close connection. I've done interviews with Walter throughout the years, but I wanted to give him a gift for his 100th birthday. It was actually 2 stamps of Germany and Israel with the cancellation with the Brandenburg Gate and the menorah, and he was very happy to receive it. And I asked him to give a message, which I'm going to put on Facebook and I'll put on YouTube. And he said, he has faced 2 Holocausts. This is a new Holocaust. And he said, it's exactly the same. But he said, there's one difference. When the Germans did it, they tried to hide a bit what they were doing. Here it's all in the open. Hamas openly videoed and showed what they're doing. But the response of the world has been very, very similar. The only thing which I can add to this, Rav, is that there are many non-Jews that are friends of ours. There's the Christians, Friends of Israel, that have stood up. In Holland, I've just put on my Facebook, there's a whole massive group of pro-Israeli protesters that are in The Hague. So, we do have those that are seeing the MS and are standing with Am Yisrael as well. So I just want to wish you all a Chodesh Tov, and tomorrow, please God, you'll hear Israel's rebuttal. And please God, just as Walter Bingham said, that these nations have come to destroy us, the Romans, and he quoted all the different nations. He said, where are they today? But we are still around. And Hashem will protect us.
Be'ezrat Hashem. And you have to understand one very important. Whoever started with the Jewish people,
Yeah.
annihilate. That's the end of the ANC.
Yeah.
That's the end.
Absolutely.
Mark my word.
Absolutely.
Okay, not only that, Kadosh Baruch Hu, the prophet, tell us what's going to be the test in the end of days. Emunah. We're going to see things. Hazal in the Gemara say, Yete velo yachmene. Gemara Masechet Shabbat. They say, well, we don't want to live in a generation that the Mashiach come. Why? Because there's so many things going to be confusing and things going to be so horrible. We don't want to live in that. We don't want to see that. That generation that we are now, it's different. It's a generation that's very strong. It all depends on the emunah. How much emunah you have in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And to have emunah is not just to say, I believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have to understand that you have to be proud that you're Jewish, proud with what you believe. Not only proud with what you believe, is to show your things to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Baruch Hashem, we see that the Jewish community all over the world, especially in South Africa, standing very united against all of those anti-Semitism. And Baruch Hashem, okay, we're strong, we're united, and we will overcome them. The same like all other nations in the world that was great, but they disappeared. They're not here anymore. B'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will show us miracles soon in our time. Amen, Ken Yeratzon. יישר כוח, Dr. Les. Thank you very much. Rabotai, Erev Tov, Rosh Chodesh Tov to everyone. We are in this Shabbos going to read Parashat Vayera. Let's see what's Parashat Vayera actually telling us and how's it going to fit with what we see during the weeks that during the weeks that pass. How's that linking? But first of all, I would like to dedicate the show in the soul of Esther Kazan, Bat Ketzia, Mordechai ben Rachma, Rav Avraham Chaim ben Eliezer Yaakov, Tamar bat Zeava, Yaakov Salomon ben Farha, Dvorah Ruth bat Beila, Shosha Blima bat Mordechai Betzalel, Eitan ben Keren ve'Avishai Nae, Malka Regina bat Joya, Keti Gurgia bat Farha, ואליהו ben Farha. נשמתם תהיה צרורה בצור החיים. Also, I would like to dedicate the shiur in help of Menashe Naji ben Farha, Liora bat Miriam, הרב משה בן באי בתיה, הרב משה בן דבורה, הרב שלמה יהודה בן דליה, הרב אברהם בן מרינה, דבורה בת אסתר, אורנה בלומה בת מרים, שיינה קיילה בת חנה, מרדכי דוד בן לאה, חיים נחום בן פסח, רזה הכהן, אהובה קדן, בת טלי אסתר, ברוך בן שרה חיינה, צבי בן חווה, שמואל מאיר בן שושה בלימה, יוסף חיים, יונתן בן איריס, פסח יצחק בן אלה, משה אברהם בן חנה ריבה, חיה ציפורה בת רחל, איילה עדן בת רבקה, טובה ליבה בת רחל, לאה בת רחל. And also please God for all of those soldiers that got injured, those members of the security people that got injured, that the shiur going to be in their merit, also for the protection of all the Jewish soldiers and all member of the security forces of Israel, the police forces of Israel, and amongst them Yehuda ben Liora, Mordechai, Eliezer, Menachem ben Varda Deborah. בעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח, והשם עלינו ברחמיו ירוויח. Jeffrey, okay, yep. Let's start the show. וידבר אלוהים אל משה, ויאמר אליו, אני אדוני.
God spoke to Moses and said to him, I am Hashem, Yod Kei Vav Kei.
Okay. What do we see here, Rabotai? We see here something very interesting. We see here, mute everyone because there's a lot of noise.
Yes.
Give me 1 second. I will mute everyone. So everyone going to be muted and there's no more noise. Okay, just me and Jeffrey. Okay, Rabotai, here we see that the pasuk started, Vaidaber Elohim. And then it's moved the Shem Havaya, Amonai. That means Shem Havaya, Yud-K, Vav-K. Come the Mefarshim and say, I don't understand. The Pasuk started with Shem Elokim, and then it moved to Shem Adnut. Why is that? Say the Mefarshim, let me explain to you. First of all, to understand what's different between those two holy names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Gemara in Masechet Brachot in page 60, folio 2. The Gemara, Hazal tell us in the Gemara like this. Wherever it's mentioned the name Elokim, it means that here HaKadosh Baruch Hu judged the world with his character trait of judgment. That means there is judgment in the world. But whenever it say Amonai, Shem Adnut, Yud-K, Vav-K, it's actually referring to Midat HaRachamim, the Midat of mercy, kindness and mercy and compassion. Say Hazal. What do we learn from here? Rabotai, what do we learn from here? Say the Mefarshim, you learn from here something very important. You learn that here the Torah coming to teach us important thing. Let's start with Rashi HaKadosh to understand why in one verse these two different names, that one referring to character trait of judgment and one referring to character trait of mercy and compassion. Say Rashi HaKadosh. Who was Rashi? Rashi HaKadosh, born in the city of Troyes. Troyes is the north of France. He born 984 years ago. And he said like this, let me read it to you, and then we understand. דיבר איתו משפט על שהקשה לדבר ולומר לו למה ראות על העם. So Rashi HaKadosh explained that you know why the verse started with the character trait of judgment, that means very strong character, that means harsh, very strong. HaKadosh Baruch Hu speak to Moshe, because Moshe complained to the Almighty that since HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent Moshe to Pharaoh, Pharaoh actually make the life of the Bnei Israel actually much worse. That means much more misery. Before, the Egyptian used to supply the Jewish people with straw. Now, after Moshe Rabbeinu gone to Pharaoh, and he said to him, listen, I've been sent by the Almighty, and he wants you to release the Jewish people. Pharaoh said to him, who's that Almighty that you're talking? I don't know who's that Almighty. And a matter of fact, from now on, I'm going to make the life of the children of Israel actually worse. They're going to go and going to harvest straw to do the building. That's Rashi HaKadosh. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu complained to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Come the Mefarshim and say, wait a minute, I don't understand. Moshe Rabbeinu, what did you complain? HaKadosh Baruch Hu told you already that when you go to Pharaoh, he's going to harden the heart of Pharaoh. So why are you complaining? Pharaoh, no matter what, wouldn't listen. It had nothing to do if you gone or not. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, before you go into Pharaoh, I'm telling you, Pharaoh gonna harden his heart. So why did Moshe Rabbeinu complain to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to judge to speak with Midat Adin? Okay? The Mefarshim explain that there is here secret. And that's how we have to look at it, Rabota, in the time that we're living now. At the situation that we see in Eretz Israel, the situation that we see all over the world. Rabotai, the answer is here. The answer that I'm going to bring is the answer of Rabbi Haim de la Rosa. Rabbi Haim de la Rosa, born in the city of Jerusalem. He born around 284 years ago. No, 278 years ago. My mistake, 278 years ago in Yerushalayim. And he wrote a book, Torat Hacham. Torat Hacham, very interesting book. And he explained that you have to understand why First of all, HaKadosh Baruch Hu start to speak to Moshe with Midat Adin, the character trait of judgment, and then he moved to the character trait of mercy, question number 2. I mean, the same question. Question number 2, that why Moshe Rabbeinu complained. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu told you that Pharaoh not going to listen, so what are you complaining? Say Rabbi Haim de la Rosa. Okay? Rabotai, whenever you hear the name de la Rosa, it's referring to those that been expelled from Spain. Okay? De la Rosa. Okay? That some people spell it de la Rosa. Okay? That those people from the time of the Spanish Inquisition, that they have to leave Spain and to fled from Spain, and until his family arrived in Eretz Israel. And he said like this, he said that to us, when you hear about the slavery of Bnei Israel, we have to understand why. Why was slavery? Why is that slavery? The slavery started, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu told already Moshe Rabbeinu in a covenant of the past that Bnei Israel are going to be in slavery for 400 years. If we have time later on in the show, I will explain why that they have to go to slavery. I will explain. He said that in a covenant of the part, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Avraham Avinu that his children going to be, okay, be'eretz lo lahem. What it means, in a land that not belong to them for 400 years. He said that Bnei Israel was supposed to be in slavery for 400 years. Okay? In fact, how many years the Jewish people was in slavery?
210.
210. Why Dafka 210? He said that HaKadosh Baruch Hu coming to teach us something. Sometimes there is a decree on a Jewish people. Sometimes the Jewish people not really the way that we should behave. Okay? I'm trying to be very, very careful about it. Okay? Say Rabbi Haim de la Rosa. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with his mercy and compassion, he put on us 210 years of hard slavery instead of 400. So every time that we are in a difficult situation, say Rabbi Haim de la Rosa, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, though that he put you in that situation is supposed to be even worse. But with his mercy and compassion, although that's right now we can't see, we can't understand, later on, or maybe never, but it is with that mercy and compassion. What was the compassion and the mercy? By that Bnei Israel actually was 190 years less in slavery. They were supposed to be 400 years in slavery. But because HaKadosh Baruch Hu have compassion on us and mercy, he make the Egyptian make us work harder, and that's what shortened, okay, the slavery years. That's the secret behind it, say Rabbi Haim de la Rosa. Now, Rabotai, what does it come to teach us? Sometimes we see things in life that we don't understand. Many people ask, why 7th of October happened? Simchat Torah, 3 months ago. Why does it happen? Why does it have to happen? Heshbonot Shamayim, we don't know. Heshbonot Shamayim, we mustn't ask. But one thing we know, what led to us, and everyone can tell you, the dividing that was among the Jewish people, the hatred, that we couldn't agree on one small thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu couldn't see it. What has he done? He needed to bring the Hamas to unite us. Today the nation is so united, Baruch Hashem, that although there is some Arab Rab still that try to entice, you see, that to separate again, to cause again those mahlokot. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hazal say in a Gemara in a Tosfot in Masechet Shabbat, 10 folio 2, Hazal say One of the holy name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Shalom. Shalom is peace. HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves peace. He said when he see that there is no peace amongst the Jewish people, how's he going to bring the Geula? How's he going to bring Mashiach? So he needed to send the Hamas to unite it. Unfortunately, it wasn't a nice thing. But today, the Jewish people united more than ever, all over the world, more than ever that we was ever united. All of that referendum, no referendum, Shema referendum, didn't help none of us. Why? Because mahloket. Mahloket. Mahloket, mahloket, mahloket. I repeat it 100 times. What does it mean mahloket? Mahloket, it means faribel. It means to teach us enough with faribel. The only way that we're going to be redeemed of every situation when we united. I don't have to agree with someone else's opinion. That's his opinion. I don't have to agree with it, but I need to respect. That means that unity has to be amongst the Jewish people. And now we talk in Lashon Hara, gossiping. I'm speaking to myself, you all tzaddikim. First of all, I want to say that you all tzaddikim. I'm speaking about myself. Okay, enough. And all of this talking about and trying to cause mahlukot in Eretz Israel doesn't help the Jewish people. Doesn't help us. And the parsha that we read, Rabotai, it's all about what's happening to us. Every parsha that we read every Shabbos, and I'm trying to explain, that we're learning what happened to us in a time that we are, it's what there is in the parsha. And the parsha shows us that nachon, that we saw something that we can't understand, how 1,300 people being killed, being burned, being raped, being slaughtered, being annihilated, but unhuman people. It's to teach us something very important. It's to teach us how much we as Jewish people have to be united. Number one. Number two, that if we want the Mashiach to come, there's only one thing: unity amongst the Jewish people. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll see it soon in our time. Let's continue. In verse 6, in verse 30, I'm jumping quite. Let me see. Yeah, verse 30. It says something very interesting that I would like to share with you and to understand. Let's try to understand it together. And it says like this. Verse 30, the last verse in chapter 6. ויאמר משה לפני אדוני, הן אני ערה לשפתיים, ואיך נשמע אליי פרעה.
Moshe said before Hashem, behold, I have sealed lips. So how shall Pharaoh heed me?
Okay, here we see something very interesting. Here we see that Moshe Rabbeinu said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he's started. How can he go and speak to Pharaoh? How's Pharaoh going to listen to him? He's going to laugh on him. So in the pshat of the Dvarim, Hazal said that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, who made the mouse to a human being? Who put that mouse that you're talking with your own mouth? How can you say that you started? What are you worried? I'm the creator. But Hazal say, and come and tell us something important. In the Talmud, Masechet Megillah, page 14, folio 1. Hazal say, when Moshe Rabbeinu born, the house that he born, inside the house, been in light completely. It was a great light. And come the Mefarshim and say, question number 1, how can it be that a guy like Moshe Rabbeinu, that gone up to heaven, not only that, he brought us the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu should be perfect. How come that he become started? What's the reason behind that Moshe Rabbeinu started. What caused it? So I'm going to bring a midrash, and then we're going to explain the midrash. There is a midrash that's called Yalkut Shimoni. Yalkut Shimoni, it's a midrash that's been written by Rabbi Shimon. He born in Germany, in the city of Frankfurt. It's not known when he born. There's not a lot known about it. It's called Midrash Shimoni. And Midrash Yalkut Shimoni in Sefer Shmot, in Parashat Bo, there is tell us that, in Parashat Shmot, it's tell us that we know that Moshe Rabbeinu grew up in the house of Pharaoh. And Pharaoh used to play often with Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu used to sit on his lap, and he used to play with him. And one day, when Moshe Rabbeinu was a little boy, already grown up a little bit, in age, the Midrash doesn't tell us exactly the age, Moshe Rabbeinu pulled the crown of Pharaoh and threw it to the floor. Pharaoh had 3 advisors, Rabotai. The first advisor that he have Yitro, he have Eov, that job, and he have Bilam. 3 advisors. When they saw that he threw the crown on the floor, they all looked at Pharaoh. And Pharaoh was, Hazal in the Gemara said that he asked them, in the Gemara Masechet Sota, page 12, folio 2. He said to them, what should I do with that child? So after all, to take a crown from a king and to throw it on the floor, it's mean embarrassment in daytime. So the Bilam say immediately, kill that little child. Kill that little, he's a little boy. What are you talking about? Kill them. That was Bilam. Yitro said to Pharaoh, listen, he's a little boy. You don't have to take it so seriously. You can ignore it. Eov said to Pharaoh, listen, I think that we should do a test. We bring 2 plates. 1 plate with gold and gemstone. The other plate is with hot charcoal. Why did they do that? Because Bilam, when he said to kill Moshe, he didn't say it for nothing. He said to Pharaoh, listen, this man gonna bring you down, the same like he took the crown off your head, he gonna bring you down to the ground. Pharaoh now started to worry. Say Hazal in the Gemara in Masechet Sota, in page 12, folio 2. But Pharaoh didn't want to kill the child. After all, it was the adoption of the daughter adopted him and he played with him. He said, you know what? No. To ignore it completely, I can't. But from the other way, to kill him, I also can't. Let me do the test that suggested Eov. And he asked the workers there, the people, the servant, to bring 2 different kind of plates and to test what's going to happen with Moshe. Hazal tell us that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he saw the gemstone, immediately he wanted to touch the gemstone. Come the Malach Gavriel, the angel Gabriel, and move his hand, and he touched the coal. And because he burned his finger, he put it in his mouth to cool it down. Like every time that if someone burned his hand, he put it in his mouth to cool it down. And that's why Moshe becomes started. Until here, the story of Hazal, in a Gemara and in a Midrash. Come the Mefarshim and say, really, what's the deeper meaning behind it? Why the God that's going to be redeem the Jewish people, going to be the Mashiach, Moshe Rabbeinu, is the rabbi of Bnei Israel. That's why we call him as Jewish people, Moshe Rabbeinu, our rabbi. He redeemed us from Egypt. He brought us the Torah from heaven. He gone up to heaven and fought with the angel to bring the Torah down. Why is Moshe Rabbeinu really have to be started? Beside the pshat of the dvarim, there is more deeper meaning to it. So I saw two different commentary, and with that I would like to share with you. The one commentary that brought is by Rabbi Mordechai Cohen. Rabbi Mordechai Cohen, born, it's not sure where he born, but it's well known that he lived in the 16th century in Eretz Israel, in Tzfat. He was amongst the students of Maran Bet Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Karo, that wrote the Shulchan Aruch. And he wrote a book, Siftei Kohen. And he said like this. He said, you know why Moshe had to be started? I'll tell you. When Moshe been taken, he was 3 months old, like we explained last week. When Batia, the daughter of Paro, took him to her house, Moshe was 3 months old. He needs someone to nurse him. So originally, Batia brought him Egyptian nurses to feed him. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to suck their milk. Didn't. Battle. They battle. Say Rabbi Mordechai Kohen, until they brought his mother, Yochevet, and she breastfeed him. She nurses him. But she said until then, those women, the Egyptian women that tried to nurse Moshe Rabbeinu, they dropped on his mouth milk that wasn't kosher. And a mouse that's going to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in heaven, a mouse that's going to speak directly to the Almighty in Ma'amad Har Sinai, cannot be a mouse that tasted something not kosher. So what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu? How did he purify that mouse? By that he put his hand on a charcoal and then he put it in his mouth and he becomes studded. By the way, in Ma'amad Har Sinai, Moshe wasn't. It just for a short while. Other explanation that brought by the Ran. Who was the Ran? Who's that Ran? That's Rabbeinu Nisim ben Reuven Gorondi. He born in the city of Barcelona. He born around 709 years ago. And he bring a different interpretation. He bring a different idea. And he said like this. You know why HaKadosh Baruch Hu made Moshe Rabbeinu started when he gone to Pharaoh? After that, Moshe Rabbeinu got cured. HaKadosh Baruch Hu cured him. Why? He said, I'll tell you why. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't want the nation to say, you see, Moshe Rabbeinu that redeemed the Jewish people from Egypt, Moshe Rabbeinu was a man that was a good talker, a smooth talker. And he managed to convince Pharaoh, okay, and his advisors, okay, that to release the children of Israel from Egypt. Therefore, listen to that. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu therefore Pharaoh released, who? He released Bnei Israel out of Egypt. Say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm going to send you a man that started. That against all the odds, they're going to release him. They're going to release him out of slavery. But that man not going to speak. That man going to stutter. He's going to speak, but he's going to stutter. He's not going to be a normal human being that is a good speaker. He's a smooth speaker that can convince people. No. Moshe Rabbeinu going to stutter. That's said the Ran, Rabbeinu Nisim. So we see from here two different reasons. The one reason that the Midrash tells, according to the Pshat of the Dvarim, because Moshe Rabbeinu took the crown of Pharaoh and threw it on the floor. And then was the test, okay? But Hazal come and tell us the secret behind it. And now we can understand why Moshe Rabbeinu was started. Why did he battle? Okay, let's go to verse now 11. In verse 11, we see something very interesting. Here it speaks about the sorceress. And let's see what's happening here. In verse 11, it says like this, ויקרא גם פרעה לחכמים ולמחשבים, ויעשו גם הם חרטומי מצרים בלהטיהם חן.
Pharaoh too summoned his wise men and sorcerers, and they too, the necromancers of Egypt, the wizards, did so with their incantations.
Okay, what's happening here? Why does the Torah have to tell us that Pharaoh called his wizard, his witchcrafters, his sorcerers, his magician, whatever you want to call it, and they done exactly like Moshe and Aaron done? What is the Hidush here? That's the question that's been asked by the Gaon Hida. Gaon Hida, Rabbi Haim Yosef David Azullah. He born in Jerusalem 300 years ago, exactly 300 years ago. And he said something extraordinary. He said the Torah come to teach us a fundamental idea. He said, look what the Torah tells us. Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron, when they gone to Pharaoh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told them that Moshe Rabbeinu said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if they're not going to believe me, how can I show them that I'm in business? HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, can you see your hand? Put it underneath your arm. And when Moshe had done it, he took it out, the hand got leprosy. He said the same, when you're going to go to Pharaoh, I'm going to tell you to show him few different things that he will understand that it's all from Shammai. So one of the things that we saw, that when Moshe and Aaron came, they have a stick. And when when Aaron threw the stick on the floor, the stick turned to a big snake, alligator. What's happened? The sorcerers make their magic, and they have many more snakes. Came the snake of the stick of Aaron and swallow all of them. The same with Makat Dam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe, listen, when you go to Pharaoh, warn them that I'm going to turn all the water in Egypt to blood. Okay. Moshe done it. Aaron done it, because Moshe didn't done it. What's happened after that? The sorcerers make everything color red. They didn't make it blood. Come the Mefarshim and say, when I say the Mefarshim, the Gaon Hida, come to teach you something very important here. He said that the sorcerers and the witchcrafters, those wicked people, instead of trying to stop something, they're adding out again more and more wickedness to the world. How's that fit with our time? Moshe Rabbeinu tried to tell Pharaoh, listen, release the Jewish people. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said that he's going to turn all your water to blood. You can't drink water. What is the Egyptian done? They add up more Taurus. Why? That they bring more red water. Said the Gaon Hida, from here you learn that will be the time before the Geula, that you'll see that the wickedness in the world going to be worse. Not enough what there is, other people want to do worse. That means to add up to that wickedness. And that's what wicked people do in the world. Instead of trying to correct, they're adding up more wickedness to the world. And that's what we see in this verse, say, the Gaon Hida, to teach us. If you want to define which one is with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which one is not, those that add up, those that go in with wicked people, you know that they part of the wickedness in the world. Now, we have to answer a different question, and we're going to go to verse 21. And in verse 21, the Torah tells us something very interesting. The Torah speaks about the plague, or the first plague, that's the first of the plague of blood. And look what it says. והדגה אשר ביאור מתה, ויבש היאור, ולא יכלו מצרים לשתות מים מן היאור, ויהי אדם בכל ארץ מצרים.
The fish life that was in the river died, and the river became foul. Egypt could not drink water from the river, and the blood was throughout the land of Egypt.
Okay. What's happening here? HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought the plagues of blood. That means that the water turned to blood. Okay? All the water, the Nile, whatever vegetation that you can get water, turned to blood. The Midrash in Shemot Rabbah, in chapter 9, verse 9. Listen what it says. Amar Ish Lakish, say Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Mimakat dam he'ashiru Israel. From the plague of blood, the children of Israel become rich. שלא היה מצרי יכול לשתות מים, אלא אם היה קונה אותו מישראל. That means that the only way that Egyptian can drink water, the Egyptian in Egypt, only if he drank the water from a Jewish person. Now, Rabotai, when was the plague of dam came? When was the first plague came? In Chodesh Tammuz. Chodesh Tammuz in Eretz Israel, in the northern hemisphere, where Eretz Israel, it's hot. It's actually boiling. Tammuz. Okay? Tammuz, Milshon, we say, you remember we done a show about the month of Tammuz, that the sun is coming. The sun is boiling. Who's going to survive a week without water? Who's going to survive? No one. What's happened? The Egyptian have to buy water from the Jewish person, from the Bnei Israel. If they didn't buy it, if they didn't pay them, although that a Jewish person will hold a cup of water, when they took it, they drank blood. Even if they drank from the same glass with straw, one will drink water, the Jewish person, the Egyptian will drink blood. So they have to pay them. And Hazal say that in a Midrash, Serish Lakish, that the Jewish people become rich. Until here is the Midrash. Come the Mekubal, Rabbi Shimshon Haim Nachmani. He born in the city of Modena in the north of Italy, 318 years ago. And he said, wait a minute. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to make the Jewish people rich straight on the first plague? What's so special that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on the first plague that he bring in an Egyptian, he will make the Jewish people rich? Why Dafka? Not only that, say that we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu already promised Avraham Avinu in Brit Ben HaBetarim, the covenant of the part, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Avraham Avinu, Ve'acharechem, and after that, Yitz'u berechush gadol. They're going to go with big treasure. When is that? After the Jewish people are going to be redeemed, they're going to be very rich. Said the Zerah Shimshon, I'm confused. The Bnei Israel become rich in two different occasions. One in Makat blood, and one by the Sea of Reeds, by the splitting of the sea. Okay, when they got a lot of spoil. When they took all the gold, all the spoil from the Egyptian. So they become twice rich. Come the Zerah Shimshon and say, I don't understand. Nachon that HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised. He promised in the end. He didn't promise in the beginning. So why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to make Bnei Israel straight on the first plague rich? Why is it so important? And when the Gaon, Rabbi Haim Shimshon, Haim Nachmani asked a question, we have to understand that there is a lot of secret hiding behind it. Say like this, say the Gaon, Zera Shimshon like this. He say Hazal tell us in a Gemara in Masechet Baba Batra. Masechet Baba Batra, in page 116, folio 1, Hazal tell us something very important. Darash Rabbi Pinchas ben Hama. Say Rabbi Pinchas ben Hama. קשה עניות בתוך ביתו של אדם יותר מ-50 מכות. That means, Rabbi Pinchas ben Hama say that a poverty in the house of a person, it's worse than 50 plagues. What is the connection? Say the Zera Shimshon, I'll explain to you. According to Rabbi Akiva, in a Haggadah, it says, ובמצרים לקחו 50 מכות. According to Rabbi Akiva, the Egyptian in Egypt received 50 plagues because each plague that they received been split to 5. That means every plague had 5 plagues with it. You're all surprised. I will tell you. If you the Mekubal Rabbi Shimshon Chaim Nachmani asked a question: why every third plague Moshe Rabbeinu didn't give a warning to Pharaoh? He said that in the 3 plagues that was, it was Makat. What was the third Makkah? Kinim, Nachon, Shhin, and Makat Choshech. He said when HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought the plague, Dam Tzfardea, Kinim, that was the third one, okay? And then Shhin is boil. Choshech is darkness. He said those 3 plagues, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want Pharaoh and the Egyptian. Why? He said because in each one of those plagues was also 3 of them. So from here we learn that say Rabbi Akiva that each plague that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought an Egyptian was 5 plagues. 10 plagues times 5, 50. He said that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to show the people of Israel when they're in slavery. Now, I want to show you at the beginning of the redemption that your situation is not worse than the Egyptian. The Egyptian situation is worse than you. Why? Because Hazal tell us in the Gemara that when there is poverty in a house of a person, lo alenu lo al af echad me'am Israel, that when Egyptians suffer from poverty in Egypt, that was worse than the situation of Bnei Israel, that they was in slavery. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu make them rich immediately. The children of Israel already felt a different level. Say Hazal, that's why, when I say Hazal, that's Rabbi Shimshon Chaim Nachmani, that's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu make the difference. That's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed Bnei Israel that, a matter of fact, the Egyptian already starting to suffer worse than you. Although that you at the moment in kind of slavery, the situation of the Egyptian become worse because they don't have penny to their name. They're absolutely poor. Now they have to come and buy from you water, and you're going to take all the money. You're going to take everything that they have. You're going to make them poor. That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to show that Bnei Israel, although that you are in a situation that you think that it's hard, it's all with compassion and mercy, what we started at the beginning. Okay, let's go to chapter 8, verse 3. And here we speak about the plague of the frog, the second plague. And let's try to understand why the Torah tells us that. ויעשו כן החרטומים בלהטיהם, ויעלו את הצפרדעים על ארץ מצרים. בכבוד.
The necromancers, the wizards, did the same through their incantations. And they brought up the frogs from the land of Egypt.
Okay. And the second plague that Moshe Rabbeinu, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Aaron to do, what is he done? He brought the plagues. What plagues? He brought the plagues of frogs. Immediately the sorcerers, the witchcrafters, the magician, whatever you want to call them, of Egypt brought more frog into the land. Okay? And the Mefarshim asked, what difference does it make to me that the Torah tell me that the Egyptian also brought frog to the land of Egypt? The frog to the land of Egypt. That's the key mark. So I saw different interpretation. Okay? Why is the Torah put an emphasis on that the frog came to the land of Egypt? What was hiding behind it? It said like this. The first commentary that I'm going to bring is, or the commentary of Rabbi Haim Tirer. Rabbi Haim Tirer born in a city of Galicia. He born 283 years ago. He wrote a book, Be'er Maim Haim, a well of life water. That's if you translate it to Hebrew. And he say like this. He say, you know why the Torah tell us? Because what's the difference between the frog that brought by Aharon HaKohen and the frog that made by the Egyptian. The frog of Aharon HaKohen tell us that when it's end up, when the plague of the frog came, the frog was everywhere, even inside the oven, the boiling oven. But the frog that been made by the magician, by the sorcerers, okay, by the witchcrafters, didn't jump into where? Into the hot oven. He's saying that's the difference that the Torah tells us. There was only in the land. The land is mean on the ground. Come the Midrash and tell us a Hiddush. We say that there is a Hiddush here why there was on the ground. Rabotai, what we do in Pshat, Remez, and Drash, and also Sod, there is here. Say the Midrash, I'll tell you what. In a time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought the plagues on Egypt, was a war between Egypt and Cush. Cush, some people say it's Ethiopia. It was a war between them. And what was the war? Usually wars about land, like we see all over the world, in Israel, in Ukraine, wherever you go, there's war about land. Say that the Egyptian, when they make the frog, they wanted to make frog only on the land. Why? So those frogs will extend and will go over the boundary of Egypt. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu make miracle that those frogs that been created by the magician, not only the frog that brought by Aaron, because the frog that brought by Aaron stay only in Egypt. They couldn't go to the land of Cush because Cush had nothing to do with the plagues. He said that even the frog that made by the magician, by the sorcerers, by the witchcrafters, didn't extend the land of Eretz Mitzrayim. And by that, how the war ended. That means that the Hiddush here was that we see the miracle that HaKadosh Baruch Hu done, that the frog of the Egyptian couldn't extend the land of Eretz Mitzrayim. That was the Hiddush here. And that's what it says, that it says, Va'al et hatzfardaim al Eretz Mitzrayim. That means that even the frog that they made couldn't leave and go over to the land of Cush. And that's how the war ended, because everyone saw, where is the frog? And when they saw the frog, they saw until here, that's the boundaries of Egypt and not more. Let's go to chapter 9, because, wow, we extend the time. Let's go quick to chapter 9, because I want to finish on time, Be'ezrat Hashem. Chapter 9, verse 7. And here we see something very interesting. Vaishlach paro vehine lo met mimiknei Israel ad echad ויכבד לב פרעה ולא שילח את העם. Okay, בכבוד.
Pharaoh sent, and behold, of the livestock of Israel, not even one had died. Yet Pharaoh's heart became stubborn, and he did not send out the people.
Interesting. Look what it says here, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu hardened the heart of Pharaoh and his nation. Why? That none, none of the, of the flock in Makat Dever died. What is the Hidush here? We have to understand. Here the Torah tells us that none of the flock of the Jewish people died in Makat Dever. But Rabotai, there is a different question. If you look at verse 6, what does it say in verse 6? ויעש אדוני את הדבר הזה ממחרת, וימות כל מקנה מצרים ומקנה בני ישראל לא מת אחד. Will you read it for
Hashem,
us, Jeffrey?
Yes, sir. Hashem carried out this word the next day, and all the livestock of Egypt died, and of the livestock of the children of Israel, not one died.
What does it mean, not one died? None of them died. What do you say, not one? What does it mean, not one died? We have to understand. So Rabotai, the Gaon Mivilna, Rabbi Eliyahu Mivilna, asked the question, why is the Torah repeat? Usually in the Torah there is no one word extra. If the Torah tells us something, it's to teach us something. He said like this. He said from that in verse 6, it said that not one of the flock of the Jewish people died, mean that was one person that his flock died among the Jewish people. How can it be? He said, I'll tell you what. I'll explain to you. You know who was that flock? That flock was the son of the Jewish woman and the Egyptian man. And he was the one that cursed the Almighty, that we're going to learn later on in the book of Shmos. What's the why? Said the Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman. Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman explains something extraordinary. Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, he born 829 years ago in a city of Catalonia in Spain. He was also a doctor like the Rambam, the Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon. And he said like this. He said, let me explain to you why the Torah repeats. The Torah doesn't repeat one word, but by that the Torah repeats, it's come to teach us something very important. The Torah tells us in verse 6 that not one of the flock of the Jewish people dies, to tell you, yes, it was one person that from his flock is dying. And then it repeats, but from the Jewish people none die. There is a contradiction, you think? There is no contradiction. He said, I'll explain to you. He said, before Matan Torah, before the Jewish people received the Torah, the religion of a person used to go according to the father. After we received the Torah, the religion gone according to the mother, as we know today. He saw that this son of the Jewish woman, he was Egyptian because it was before Matan Torah. His father was Egyptian, he wasn't Jewish. Therefore, the Torah tells us specifically that from that man that people knew that he was the son of the Jewish people, and he lived with her. By the way, she'd been taken by the Egyptian, and Moshe Rabbeinu later on saw that Egyptian beating a Jewish person because he didn't want to leave trace, because the husband found out that Shlomit, her name was Shlomit, but Dovri. Hazal tell us later on, now she doesn't announce her name, that she'd been taken and she gone with the Egyptian. What happened? To tell you that, yes, said the Ramban, okay, what happened? That person that the Torah tell us that one person from his flock died, it was the son of the Egyptian. And though that he lived with his mother Shlomit in Eretz Goshen, doesn't mean that he was Jewish. So Hazal said the Ramban, and Hazal teach us here something very important. That when you read the Torah, Nachon that it sounds like we understand, but if you look depths, you can find why and what's happening, why the Torah repeated, why, what Hazal tell us, what the Gaon Mivilna said, that one of them did die. We have to understand everything. That we have to understand that in the Torah, it's not just the normal Torah like we know. The Torah come and teach us something very important, that there is depths in our Torah. We just have to have the seichel, the wisdom to try to understand, to look at the Mefarshim. I would like to end up with verse 30. It's the last verse in this chapter. And look what, no, it's not the last verse in that chapter. No, verse 30 is not the last. And look what it said. ואתה ועבדך ידעתי, כי טרם תראון מפני אדוני אלוהיכם.
And as for you and your servants, I know that you are not yet afraid of Hashem, God.
Okay, here Moshe Rabbeinu actually saying to Pharaoh and attacking Pharaoh, you and your nation not afraid of Hashem. Okay? And as we see that the punishment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually punished Egypt and the nation of Egypt, Pharaoh and the nation of Egypt. And coming the Mefarshim say, look, why HaKadosh Baruch Hu punished the Egyptians? HaKadosh Baruch Hu put the Bnei Israel in Egypt. So why do you have to punish them? Why do you have to really? If HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't want to put the children of Israel in Egypt, they wouldn't suffer. But you put them there to be slaves. Say, I saw a beautiful interpretation, Rabota, and that's what I want to link it to what's happened in Simchat Torah and how we have to look at things in life. Said the Mefarshim, Nachon that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put the Jewish people in Egypt. Nachon that Bnei Israel is supposed to be slave in Egypt. But when you enjoying to harm the Jewish people, when you actually making the slavery harder and you getting benefit from it and you enjoy it, and you don't do it just to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell you, you take it extra step, a step ahead, that's when come the punishment. Nachon that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told that the Jewish people are going to be in Egypt for 400 years. Nachon that they're going to be in slavery. But I didn't tell you to make the slavery hard. I didn't tell you to enjoy, to harm the Jewish people when they're in slavery. Okay, to beat them, to abuse them, to rape them, to kill them. That I didn't agree. Rabotai, that's what happened in Simchat Torah. It was a decree in Shammai. Why we don't? It's not for us to check. But when you enjoy to burn people alive, when you enjoy to cut limbs and organ of people, to rape women, to burn people alive, to annihilate people, to shoot everyone for the joy as the video show, then I'm going to deal with you, say HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The same like he done to Egypt, he will do to the Hamas, he will do to everyone that hate the Jewish people. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that we should see the redemption of the Jewish people in our time, speedily. In our time, while we're living, we see Mashiach Tzidkenu and the building of the third Bet HaMikdash. Amen, Ken Yeh Ratzon. Rabotai, I extend the show by 4 minutes. I'm sorry. I usually try to finish at 9. Sometimes I go over. But now it's time for question. Those of you that have question on the show, please unmute the microphone and ask question. Bechavod, those of you that want to ask question. Bechavod. Ken, bechavod. Louis, I see that you unmute the microphone. Bechavod, Louis.
Yeah, hello, Rolf. How are you?
How are you, Louis? Rosh Chodesh Tov.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Chodesh Tov. It's been traumatic this last couple of days, but there's a light that's shining at the end of the tunnel. That's the way I see it now. Hashem's going to deal out what has to be dealt out. And if you have a look at our soldiers before they go, and they sing, they dance before they go to battle, that means there's such unity amongst the Jews. And people don't understand it. They don't understand this unity. If I was a little bit younger, I'll be first to go into war. Put the rifle in my arms and I will lead. I will lead. That's how I feel. And I don't know how to explain to people. This is something that it's so deep in my heart and in my brain the whole time. I don't know how to explain.
I tell you. I read the article today or yesterday. I'm not sure when I read it, today or yesterday. He's the oldest soldier in the army. He's 67. He's a commander in a Jewish army in the Tzahal, the defense
reserve.
And he said since he remembered the army was never the moral of the soldiers so high, the same like this time. That means that the moral of the soldier is so high that they know that this is a war, milhamet hova. It's a war that we have to fight to defend the land of Eretz Israel, to defend the Jewish people.
I agree.
There's no other interpretation to it. If you see that what every commander said, that it's what the soldiers say, it's their merit that they have to fight to save the land of Eretz Israel.
That they all stand now, the whole lot of them, and they say the Shema together. Unbelievable.
Not only that, there's a full platoon that took on themselves to say Tfilat Minha. You know that?
Yeah. Yes.
Unheard of. They're not religious. They're not religious. What happened, Rabot? I listened to that miracle. It's a miracle that happened. It was a platoon that was in action, and they sent them back to rest. While they were sitting to rest, one of member of the platoon was a religious guy, and he said, listen, I have time to daven mincha. I'm going to daven towards Jerusalem. So they all didn't face them. He turned himself from them. He faced northeast, while they was facing south. He stood to daven mincha. In the middle that he's standing, from nowhere, from out of those tunnel, suddenly came a terrorist with the RPG. RPG is anti-tank missile. He saw him, he cocked the gun and started shooting, and he said, a terrorist. Everyone turned around and start shooting to the tunnel. And someone throw a grenade, and that's how life been saved. Imagine they were sitting to rest, a terrorist behind them with the RPG. How many people would be killed? Said the head of the platoon and all the members. From now on, we all gonna daven mincha. We're not religious. It doesn't make a difference. We're gonna daven mincha. That's what saved us. Rabotai, what else? Miracle we need to see to understand. We are in a time, Rabotai, of Mashiach. There is darkness in the world. There is darkness that many people can't see what's happening. Like Dr. Les told us. But before HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed the Jewish people, he also brought the plagues of darkness. The There is a definite darkness that we're going to understand. The darkness is to understand who's right, who's wrong. There's fate or there's not fate. That's going to be the final taste before the redemption. How strong we are in believing in a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the final taste, said the Mekubalim, the mystical rabbi, that's going to be in the time of the Mashiach, before the Mashiach comes. Yeah. Any other question, Rabotai? Who else? Who want to ask question? Bechavod.
Rav, good evening.
Thank you very much for reading for us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Rav, you explained quite a lot of things tonight. I mean, what's behind Moshe's speeches, what's behind the sorcerers. Can we equate this as today, when Pharaoh, which was the head of the most evil dynasty, calls together all the other leaders of their sorcerers, came with their staff, who changed into snakes, isn't it? And then Aaron's snake or alligator ate the whole lot up. Isn't the same what's happening now? They've come with all their rockets and thousands of rockets and what have you, and we come along and with our weapons, and we can eat them up. We're going to eat them up. It's exactly the same. This is what it is. Our weaponry, our staff.
What is our weaponry? What is our weaponry? That's
Hashem.
What we have to ask. Oh, Hashem. That's what I want to do.
Our strong
we
weapon.
We have to understand, and we say it, and David HaMelech say, אלה ברכב, ואלה בסוסים, ואנחנו בשם השם. Those gonna come with the rockets, those gonna come with whatever you want to call them. Okay, but we're gonna come in the name of Hashem. At the moment, Rabotai, that we're gonna come in the name of Hashem, we say we're fighting in the name of Hashem, it's gonna be ended. The war gonna be ended. We're gonna take them. David Ben-Gurion in 1948, when he stood in the front of the United Nations, and they asked him, where does it say that you should have a land? He took the Tanakh and showed them, here's the taboo. Yeah. We go now to Hag, and we're going to say to them in Hag, the Torah tell us, the Torah teach us, Haba le'orgecha, ashkem le'orgo. A person that come to kill me, I have an obligation to kill him before. Hashkem leorgo. It's my job to kill him before he kill me. I'm not going to wait. And if we go with the Torah, all the nation going to listen to us. Be'ezrat Hashem, those people that sitting there, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give them the chokhmah, the seichel, the wisdom to understand that, to put it to the nation of the world, that they will see that we are the light to the world. Be'ezrat Hashem, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will do that. You follow, Jeffrey?
Yes, I do. Rav, just another question. You explained about Moshe's impediment of speech and what have you. It's good, but we were told that Aaron will speak for you. Aaron did the speaking. So it wasn't Moshe's, lack of speech, because it wasn't. The issue was Aaron did the talking.
So the question is, so why did Moshe have to be a started man, you ask? I will explain.
Yeah.
If you look, very good
had
question.
No influence.
Excellent. Who did Pharaoh all the time looking to speak to? To Aaron or to Moshe? To Moshe.
To Moshe.
Why Davka Moshe? Wait, why Davka to Moshe? If Aaron is the one that speaks, why are you speaking to Moshe? Question number one, to answer you, to help you to understand the answer. Question number two, when Moshe spoke to him, what did he say to him? He said to Moshe, if I'll see your face again, I'm going to kill you. I don't want to see you anymore.
You won't see my face anymore, yeah.
So why all the time to Moshe? Why are you not speaking to Aaron? Why are you warning Moshe? Okay? And then, third thing, when he couldn't survive anymore some of the plague before HaKadosh Baruch Hu hardened his heart, who did he ask to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Moshe. Daven to Moshe.
Yeah.
Come to teach you. Nachon that Aaron gone with him. The first 3 plagues done by Aaron.
Yes.
To show gratitude, to teach us how important is gratitude. How much HaKadosh Baruch Hu love when you show gratitude. Rabotai, Yahya Sinwar, 2011, been caught in Israel, been sentenced to 3 life sentence. That means he's dead. He's gonna rot in jail. They found that he had a tumor in the brain. Been taken to Hadassah and Karen. They saved his life. They took the tumor. He so ungrateful by that he killed over 1,300 people. Kadosh Baruch Hu hate ungrateful people.
Yeah.
Okay? Moshe Rabbeinu shows how much he had gratitude to what? To water, to sand. Rabotai, to sand. What is sand? What is the sand understand? What is water understand? But after that, Moshe now speaking. All the other plagues, Moshe done it. The thing that Moshe starts speaking to who? To Pharaoh. That's why Moshe, all the time, after every plague, after every negotiation, have to negotiate with who? With Pharaoh, not with Aaron. You follow?
Yes.
You follow, Jeffrey? Because
Yes,
Moshe is the one that spoke to who? To Pharaoh. He told them, listen, tomorrow you're going to get the plague of blood. After a month came another warning for the second. Who was that? Moshe. Moshe done all the negotiation. Moshe done all the speaking. With who? With Pharaoh.
That's why, Rob, I believe they're having this what do you call it, this court case against Israel. Everything is going to turn around and backfire in their face. I believe
everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu do, in our eyes, it's look like a judgment.
Yeah.
Like we started the shi'ur. Vaydaber Elokim El Moshe. It looked to us like a judgment, but in the end, it's only with mercy. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing now, it's only with mercy and compassion. To us, it's look now like it's a judgment. It's against. What's happening? What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu want from us? We don't understand. We soon gonna see it our own eyes. What I have to understand that the last time before the Mashiach comes, Seder Mekubalim on Sunday, Rabotai, I have to tell you, I'm going to do shi'ur, and it's a little bit of astronomy. It's all from the Zohar, about the 6th window, the 7th planet, but the 6th window. And I'm going to link it all, Rabotai, to what's happening now in a situation. It's all from the Zohar, Parashat Truma, bring all different. But it's going to be astronomy and how it's fit. How's the starlight working in this time to understand to us, to explain to us what is the 6th window, these 7 planets. How does it fit? And Be'ezrat Hashem, we do it on Sunday. And next week, next Sunday, we'll do for Tu Bishvat Be'ezrat Hashem. But what I'm trying to tell you, Rabotai, everything there is a reason. We link the Parashat to what's happening now in a situation. Okay? But we also have to understand, that there's a bigger picture that we have to understand. We're too small to understand it. We're too limited. That's why we have our sages. That's what there is. The Zohar HaKadosh that explain to us that if you read it and you understand it, you have to look at the Mefarshim to understand what does it mean by it. And that's what it's called the sixth window. There's 7 windows in the world, but that's the 6th. Above them, there is something about the 8th dimension. The 8th dimension is above nature. 7th dimension is nature. But the 8th dimension is above. We're going to speak about the number 6 there and how does it fit with number 7. And Be'ezrat Hashem, if we'll have time, we also link it to the 8th dimension. A bit of astronomy with a bit of the Zohar HaKadosh. So definitely the time is that everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing only for the good of the Jewish people. Although at the moment it's looked to us like difficult time, what's happening? What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu want from us? Not enough. We'll see that. Rabotai, let me give you a analogy and you'll understand. A woman, when she's pregnant, it's uncomfortable. But when she reached the 9 months before she delivered the baby, she can't take it anymore. And when she delivered the baby at long last, after all those contractions and everything, oh. But before she see that smile of the baby, it's going through a little bit of hard time. That's called Hevle Mashiach, the time, the birth of the Mashiach. It's going to be a bit of difficult. And before the Mashiach going to born, it's going to be those difficult construction just before the birth of a baby. That's the same with us. Before the light going to shine, we have to break the wall. So you chisel the plaster, you chisel the brick, and you chisel and you chisel. And you don't see the end. And suddenly one more knock on the chisel with the hammer, and suddenly the wall is broke. Suddenly you see the light coming. That's going to happen the same with the Mashiach. Darkness and hard, we don't see the end, and suddenly, oops, the light shines. Be'ezrat Hashem, that will merit to see it in our time. That's the Chokhmah. That's what we must do. In the meantime, Rabotai, I would like to wish each one of you, first of all, and to thank each one of you that joining the shiur. Thank you very much for joining us. To wish you Rosh Chodesh Tov, Rosh Chodesh Shvat. Okay? That, please God, the Kadosh Baruch Hu will turn that month to us for a month of miracle. Okay? Not only that, a month that we see the light in the end of the tunnel, Be'ezrat Hashem, that we will see miracle, and to wish all of you, take the opportunity to wish each one of you to have a beautiful Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom to each one of you. Shabbat Shalom Umvorechet. And Be'ezrat Hashem, to wish you all a peaceful weekend. To all Am Yisrael, to us, Amen. To all Am Yisrael, and the most important, for the safety of the soldier, the safety of the member of the security defense, the police, and not less, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will release the hostages and will cure all the injured soldiers, all the sick people among the Jewish people. Amen. Wish you all, thank you very much, and good night. Hope to see you on Sunday. In the meantime, Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Have a good night.
Thank you, Lord. Shabbat Shalom.
All the best. All the best.
Okay. Good night.